As we stand on the threshold of a new year, it's that time when we ponder the road behind us and envision the path ahead. Now, here's a question for you. Are you setting goals or intentions as you navigate the delicate landscape of grief? You might be thinking, aren't they the same? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving into the nuanced world of setting intentions, especially in the early stages of grief. So grab a cup of warmth, find a cozy spot, and join me as we unravel the power of intentions and the invaluable lessons they hold. Let's get ready for some heart-to-heart exploration. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Overcoming Grief, a show for women experiencing profound grief and looking for support in healing and transforming their lives. If you are ready to heal after a loss, create a new self-identity, take responsibility to do the hard things, and get massive results in your life, this show is for you. Now, here's your host, Master Grief and Life Coach, Sandy Linda.
Hello, fabulous listeners. I hope you all are getting some great insights that you're turning into actions on these podcast episodes. I wanted to also explain to you a little bit before the year ends the importance of moving beyond grief and rediscovering joy. The reason why I went ahead and did this podcast show is because I was looking to engage in the conversation that is not quite spoken about, especially when it comes to multiple losses. So when I did this podcast, it allowed me to acknowledge the sorrow. And I wanted the audience to be aware of that when it comes to acknowledging and processing grief, it's the necessary step before moving towards joy. Now, have you ever felt like suppressing your grief after a loss? It's a natural response for many of us. But did you know that it could hinder your journey to rediscovering joy? So I always tell people to give yourself permission to grieve and experience joy after loss. It's all about understanding that embracing joy doesn't diminish the love or memory of the departed. But I just wanted to give you some insights on the end of the title says moving beyond grief and develop a purposeful life. But I wanted to engage the conversation a little bit where I allow you to acknowledge it and process the grief on here. So on today's show, I wanted to talk about the power of intentions. And I know that there seems to be that both intentions and goals are important because they may be interconnected. But the reason why I decided to do this particular part here is because when I was in the middle of my bereavement counseling, I recall a time where I felt a little bit rushed into setting goals. And to me, I felt like I still was dealing with the emotional part of my journey because, again, if you are new to the show, I have gone through a series of losses. You know, I lost my mom, I lost my sister and my dad, but I also lost friends in the process of me going through the grief. So I went through some hardcore losses, but then I found out that there is power in intentions before setting the goal. Intentions are more emotionally driven to give strength to persevere forward to achieve our dreams, whereas goals involve concrete actions and outcomes that can be observed and tracked. So in short, an intention is why you want to do something, and a goal is how you do it. I've learned that deciding on an intention is about figuring out who you want to be deep down, what matters most to you, your values, your innermost desires, and your purpose. then you need to take action to become this version of yourself. And when I was taught this was an icebreaker to allow me to embrace and give myself permission to grieve the heavy losses that I went through. And yes, I still was in therapy, but I started writing. That was my form of therapy, of healing, to talk about my emotional wounds and be able to go through the mourning process and be able to share it on this platform, on this podcast show. So I am so grateful to have learned about the power of intention, because I was at a personal development where they talked about intentions, and that's where I got the idea from. But when it comes to goals are more involved with concrete actions and outcomes that can be observed and tracked. Setting goals provides an opportunity to shape a new narrative for your life. It allows you to move from a position of reacting to grief to actively defining your future. So what I mean by that is that when you already set an intention about processing your grief, allowing yourself to know your deep and your innermost desires, you're allowing yourself the process to go ahead and actively define your future when you already taken the necessary steps of intentions. All right, let me give you some examples on crafting intentions that's related to overcoming your grief and rediscovering your joy. So when it comes to dealing and processing your grief, I'm always advising people to acknowledge the pain and accept the loss. So here's an example. Before I dive into the strategies, let's take a moment to acknowledge the pain. Grief is a journey, and it's okay to feel the weight of loss. Don't let anyone tell you anything different. Again, some of our society is still trying to hide grief. But I'm starting to see some difference now because of what's happening in this world today, that people are starting to say the word grief a lot of times, especially in what I'm doing too. Embrace the healing process with patience and self-compassion. So healing isn't a linear path. It's a roller coaster of emotions. Our intention is to embrace this process, allowing ourselves the grace to heal at our own pace. So in the end, you want to be able to know that by acknowledging the loss and embracing the healing process, it's giving you the chance to be in a place of healing and allowing you to respect and honor the loss of your loved ones. Another intent I want to share is to focus on gratitude for the time shared and the memories cherished. Our intention is to shift our perspective towards gratitude instead of dwelling on the absence. Let's celebrate the moments we share and the love that still lingers. And I get it. And for those who are in the early griefs, you're still working through, or some of you have been hiding the grief beneath you. And I've always have asked people, do you want to talk about it? They always tell me no, which is okay. But in the end, it would be best to really open your heart and mind and just get into the power of intentions. I mean, it's such a game changer that it gave me the chance to understand how to set goals realistically when it came to my grief journey. And let me just give you a few examples about the goals. Goals are sometimes comes from a place of concrete and they're specified. For example, exercise for 30 minutes every day. So the goals are often tangible, measurable, and time-bound. They provide a clear roadmap towards a specified achievement. And then another goal was external validation. Example is receive a promotion at work. Goals may rely on external validation or recognition, such as achieving a milestone or gaining acknowledgement. But when it comes to the intentions, I always say cultivate a mindset of gratitude and acceptance. Intentions revolved around cultivating a particular mindset or way of being focused on the journey rather than the destination. And I always say that to people that it's not about the destination, it's the journey of walking through grief into the mourning process. Another one with intention is finding joy in small everyday moments. And sometimes it's hard because I couldn't find some joy in the small moments when I was going through it because I was still at a loss. But it took time to get into the place of intentions of what it means. And intentions are internally aligned, seeking fulfillment with oneself rather than relying on the external validation. So for me, in the beginning, yes, I was looking for someone to help me. I was looking for external validation, but at the wrong time because I didn't want to be alone during this journey. But with the proper strategies on what the power of tensions were, this was an absolute game changer to allow me to express and really embrace my journey through grief and rediscovering joy. So, in the context of overcoming grief and rediscovering joy, setting intentions allows yourselves to navigate the emotional landscape with a compassionate and inward focused approach. Intentions provide a framework for healing, growth, and finding joy in the journey itself rather than the outcome. As we bring this episode to a close, I want to leave you with the resounding truth about the transformative power of intentions. In the landscape of grief, where each step can feel like a monumental climb, setting intentions became a guiding star, a beacon of hope cutting through the darkness. Choosing to set intentions is not just a commitment to healing. It's an act of profound self-love. In the journey through grief, intentions become the seeds we plant for a future filled with rediscovered joy, connection, and purpose. Remember, the intentions are the whispers of your heart, the gentle nudges guiding you toward the light. They are the compass directing your steps when the path seems uncertain. As we step into a new year, consider the intentions you want to weave into the fabric of your days. Maybe it's the intention to find moments of peace, to cultivate self-compassion, or to embrace the beauty of small wins. Your grief journey is unique, and so are the intentions that will illuminate your path. Embrace the power within you to craft a narrative of healing and resilience. Thank you for joining me in exploring the depth and the potential of intentions. May your intentions become the catalyst for a future filled with hope, growth, and a rediscovery sense of joy. Thank you so much for listening and have a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye. If you enjoyed today's show and don't want to worry about missing an episode, you can follow the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you could share the podcast with others who you think would benefit from it and leave a rating and a review to let me know what you think. It doesn't have to be a 5-star rating, although I sure hope you love the show. I want your honest feedback so I can create an awesome podcast that provides tons of value on the show. Visit www.sandylinda.com/podcast launch for step-by-step instructions on how to follow, rate, and review.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Overcoming Grief. If you're ready to move into a new, rewarding life experience and want more information about how to work with Sandy, visit www.sandylinda.com.